Hi, I'm here today with Scott Kessler, who is the head of U.S. Microgrid Strategy and Sales for Siemens. And he's here to tell us a little bit about what he sees as some of the hurdles to microgrids and how customers can overcome those hurdles. So hi, Scott. Thanks so much for being here today at Microgrid 2020 Global.
Hey, Lisa, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Let's start by asking you a little bit about what customers are facing in terms of hurdles. What are the problems out there that they're facing when they want to adopt a microgrid?
Yeah, there have historically been some key issues when deploying microgrids. And, we've gotten around them. The industry sort of made some headway, but what we've really seen is sort of customers who they either can't afford the upfront capital cost because especially the generation assets and the storage assets can be expensive. And then customers who really aren't designed to manage those assets themselves. They don't know how to maintain them in a way that they actually get the returns on their investment. So there's sort of a two-part problem, one being a hard cost and one being a soft cost that customers have been facing.
Very interesting. So have you seen a change in the nature of the customer? Are we seeing a different kind of customer enter the market?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you go back a few years, primarily would have been working with utilities, maybe a little bit of the military, and then a speckle or two of universities who, it was half research and half actual, microgrid providing value. And now what we're seeing is a much broader spectrum of customers, many more commercial industrial customers than we've ever seen before. I think that's particularly being driven by weather. You've got wildfires out in California, you've got hurricanes on the East Coast, you've got flooding in the middle of the country. I think you're also seeing large price declines in solar plus storage, these types of DERs that really people find exciting and they want to participate in. And then I think, you're seeing new options enter the market, which enable folks to deploy microgrids in a much easier fashion than they ever did before.
Interesting. So changes in the type of customers and some pretty profound reasons for them to pursue microgrids these days. What can be done to help these customers get into this market to deploy microgrids?
So what we've actually done is we've launched a new venture with Macquarie Capital called Calibrant Energy. And we're really excited about it because we think we're combining the expertise of Siemens on the technical side, on the sort of project management and some of the harder aspects of the project. And we're also bringing Macquarie with a capital balance sheet, with a large experience in developing renewables, and a different way of looking at the risk profile of these assets. Through their experience, they have a very good understanding as to what pans out financially and what doesn't. And so what we're sort of excited to be talking to people about now is the ability to offer this, not just for microgrids, particularly for almost any generation asset behind the meter, whether it is CHP, whether it is looking at PV and storage that's just grid tied all the time, or whether it's looking at microgrids. So we think this type of offering is really going to allow us to serve a very diverse set of customers, everything from 1 to 5 megawatt projects to 50 to 100 megawatts.
Very interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the future. What do you see ahead for microgrids? How's the market looking?
So I think what we're going to see, we sort of heard a lot about a K-shaped recovery in the economy. I think what we're going to see in the microgrid market is going to look K-shaped as well. Slightly different reasons though. On one side of the market, you're going to continue to see larger, more complex microgrids. These are going to be going into much larger facilities. They are going to be probably making use of many different functionality pieces. Some of them might even be, front of the meter type microgrids. On the other end of the spectrum, I think what you're going to see is a lot of these sort of 1 to 5 megawatt commercial industrial customers. They don't really want to own the asset themselves. They don't really want to operate the asset themselves, and they don't really want the difficulty in designing, a super unique microgrid that's never been seen before. They are very happy to sort of think of a microgrid more like a product and hopefully have a purchasing process that models that.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Scott. This has been fascinating. Appreciate you joining us today at Microgrid 2020 Global.
Thanks so much for having me.